The name of this session is what? Ask away. Thank you. And who is doing the asking? The audience. Lovely. So this is your opportunity. I hope you have read all the bios so you know what their interests are, where their interests lie, so you're able to ask your questions. Of course, if more than one of you panelists is able to chime in on any specific question, feel free to do so. So yeah, this is the session. This lovely Verlene is going to be running the mic, so just by a show of hands. Thank you, Daniel. Kick it off.
Yeah, fine. Nobody was eager to start the questions, but that's all right. I will start. So I want to talk about labels a little bit. The more advanced we get in technologies, the more it's becoming easier to be a self-sufficient artist. You want to go and record your own song, GarageBand is free. In fact, I'm trying to remember there was an artist recently who did a whole album off of GarageBand on his iPad, produced, mixed, everything. So do you see labels kind of going down? I know Al, you spoke about the label, the amount of work that they do and why it's still there. But are you seeing that movement? Anybody can answer that. Seeing that movement of labels going down, up, independent, whatnot?
Well, we were talking about this last night, but I'm going to add to this. My first question when I talk to an artist is how big you want to be, right? If you say Michael Jackson, I know what type of records you need to make. I know how you need to walk. I know how you need to X, Y, and Z. But if you want to be, but if you don't want that much impact, I know how to make that type of record and ask for that type of marketing and move you along. Like I said earlier, a lot of 70%, I'm going to put that number out, 70% of the industry today is independent. They don't have a major team, they may have a team, but they are distributed by a distributor, whether it's independent that is run by a major, or they're independent totally straight to DistroKid or TuneCore or Empire, and they're straight there and they're successful because they have, one, the momentum of their community and their buying or their gang or whatever it is. They have a systemic system that buys or is a fan of their product. So comes to a point where you hit when you're doing that and you hit a wall. Are you happy with the wall or do you want to take it up? Even with independents like Empire, when we hit a wall and we want to take an artist up, we have a side deal or an uplift deal. Whether it's through us going through another fund to uplift, or we go and do a deal with Atlantic or Universal because they have a bigger platform for us to jump on and expand the writer. So I don't know if I answered a little bit.
Yeah, I think just piggybacking on what Al just said, the reality today is that 100% you could do it yourself, right? The leverage that you get when you are able to do it yourself, back in the day, the labels had to break you, not break you. Sometimes they do break you, but they have to break you. You kind of needed them. So you didn't have much leverage when you're negotiating a deal, right? But today, you can stay independent and have a worldwide hit. Build a worldwide audience. TikTok is direct to consumer. When you have that, it's great. If you want to compete with Drake, right, you might have labels. First of all, labels will chase you. They will DM you, they'll reach out to you. And the benefit of having the traction with being independent, you can decide if you want to be Michael Jackson at that point, or you want to be Drake, or you want to be independent. Like a lot of artists are independent, Young Blue, a lot of great artists are doing their thing, making millions of dollars. But if you want to compete and have those number one hits, you might then decide to negotiate with the record label. But I think that's where the power is for the artist. The power is in the hands of the artist to decide whether to stay independent or eventually if you want to partner with a label. And you could partner in various ways. Don't think the contract they give you is the only thing. Negotiate, or your managers, of course, or whoever is representing you. So yeah, that's what I'll add.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two things, right? There's a fallacy out there that labels are gonna die, right? These guys just evolve. There's an evolution, and they just rebrand themselves, but they stay the same. They're huge businesses. They're not just music labels anymore. Sony's not just a music company. Universal is not just a music company. So I think, as Solomon just said, artists have a leverage because independence it's possible for you to be successful, but you're gonna still need support. It's just how much leverage do you have? It's like when we're repping an actor can turn around and say, I don't need an agent, right? Or a manager. Well, that's not really the case. Do you know what I mean? Brad Pitt can turn around and say he doesn't need an agent or a manager. It depends where you're at on the ladder. So I think young artists have to be careful because social media will tell you, you don't need a label. You don't need support. You don't need marketing. You don't need PR. You don't need legal. You don't need all these things. I can do it myself. That's what social media terms independence as. It's not quite the case. It's not the back in the day where people were signing 360 deals, signing their lives away. It's changed a little bit, right? People are more astute now. Talent are much more clever than they were 20, 30 years ago. So I think you just got to be mindful of what you consume on social media. It's the business of music. You've got to educate yourself and understand what it's really about and get the right, and get the right advice. But if, like they said, if you want to compete with Drake, you want to compete with, even from the Afrobeat guys, it's how much leverage do you have, and you just got to consider those things.
Just to speak to that a little bit, on two levels. So like in the UK, I've got lots of rapper friends that are big in the UK, like huge. And a lot of them are independent. So like being independent in the UK at a point became like the most fashionable thing because what tended to happen was a lot of these artists will build an audience and then sign to a record label and be made to make music that's just pop, right? And too commercial for their audience. And so they alienate their audience that got them there in the first place. And if they find a new audience, they find a new audience, and sometimes they didn't. And it was stranded and caught out because they couldn't go back to their previous audience. And so what's then happened as a backlash to that was that a lot of UK artists wanted to be independent. But the thing about the independent thing is that a lot of these people are still signed to Universal through their imprint, Virgin,
right?
Which is, I laugh all the time because it's like, oh, you want to be independent, but you're still technically signed to the biggest record label in the world through their distribution imprint. And then, Sony's got one, Warner's got one, so in essence, like a lot of my friends that are like, oh, I don't want to do a record deal, I don't want to be signed. They're signed to like Virgin, they're signed to ADA, they're signed to these labels that are in essence like, sort of major record label deals. And also at the same time, I feel in order to take it to that next level, I feel like you guys were alluding to it, but you didn't actually say it. In order to be an international artist, you can't be independent.
I didn't want to say it. Femi said it.
You just can't. It's just impossible because the bank that you need to do the marketing to get you there
it's true.
Is impossible. Now, like Fela was saying, Drake can be independent. Drake at a point needed to renegotiate his deal. And I remember someone saying, if Drake went independent, the recording industry will crash.
Right. So they'll never allow it.
So they'll never allow it. So they throw more money at him and, keep it. But someone at that level can be completely independent, right? Go and seek out external investment and then invest in their career because they're so big. But I just feel like in order to cross over from being a regional artist or national artist or local artist to an international artist, you need that big budget spent on you. And if you look at the UK artists that are internationally known, like people like Stormzy, Skepta, Dave. Like they've had that level of investment. Like it's just another level of investment to take you global. But if I say some other names, like some of them are my friends, so I'm not going to throw them under the bus. But if I say some other names to you, you'd be like, who are they? But they're just as big or as well known as these guys locally, but they've not had that level of investment spent, in essence, on marketing and PR.
Yeah. It's important that that you understand how much it takes to break an artist worldwide. And just to get 30 spins a day, I'm just going to talk about the United States, to get 25 to 30 spins a day on every radio station in every state, on all the P1 stations, takes millions of dollars. And to do it for 16 weeks, decides on, hey, this song is a hit, it's played all the time. And for you, as an independent artist, to break that, so this is how it works. So there's Universal, there's Sony, there's Warner, there's BMG, and there's a whole bunch of those companies underneath those. So they all go, okay, who's our hot artist for the week or the month? One has Beyonce, one has Chris Brown, one has Drake, and one has Kanye. So they automatically get 30 spins a day. You're going to hear those records 30 times a day. They have the big budgets. And then you, as an independent, may have a hot song, but who's fighting for you to take spins away from them? And you got to do that around the world. That's when you start to break and become a superstar. When you can have a team pay for taking spins away from the superstars.
So hands up for the next, my mic is off. Hands up for the next question. All right, Janelle has the mic.
So this is a question. I know we may have a bit of a view on AI that it could be, the devil coming up from the wings. But I also work a bit and study in AI. And when it comes to predictive models that we're seeing, there's a lot of benefit that can be derived from them as well. So even to Jay in particular and to everyone else, to me, I see it as a leveling of the playing field for things like synchronization. If there's a pool of songs and you're able to use predictive or more predictive AI to be able to say, okay, I'm looking for something dark, I'm looking for something melodic, I'm looking for these things, then artists who aren't usually pulled into the pool may get pulled as a result of those sorts of factors that you're looking for. Has there been any investment in this area, and do you see it being something of benefit to the industry, or do you see it as something that could be crippling?
They've actually already started doing it. One of the labels that I've worked for, there was actually a seminar last year where they had 2 music supervisors giving a brief to two music directors and AI. This is one guy, the AI guy, had a hood, had a mask on, and they had the 2 music directors, the human music directors. So basically the task was the supervisors would give the music, these music supervisors are big supervisors, and they had these briefs for these 2 movies that they're doing. They would give a brief to each. They would explain the movie to each of the humans and the AI, and virtually the music directors and AI would have to search up the key words of what they need for that particular scene to fit that emotion, to fit that certain vibe. And so basically the battle was who's going to win, which is AI going to pick the right song for both movies, or is it going to be both? Basically, yeah, it was really interesting because I was yeah, man, it was literally that. And remember, the supervisors don't care where it comes from as long as they get the actual result and the right songs for their project. And so I was watching it, and it was like, man, like, of course, the AI guy was the system they were using was like a lot quicker than the humans, and the humans would take a bit longer, and but in essence, what happened was, at the end of it, after all these sort of, going back and forth of getting the right feels and right emotion, the wordings, and what happened was when they announced the winner, one of the supervisors, the first asked the first one of the supervisors to ask, okay, which one do you think chose the perfect song for you? And they had a list of like 5 songs each, of what sort of matched that criteria of that brief. And one of the supervisors ended up choosing the AI. That's the song that AI chose. So I was like, oh no, everyone in the crowd was like, no, the computers won, damn it. But no, but it's okay, let's see what the second supervisor says. And again, she was explaining why she chose these 5 songs, and that one particular, it felt like it was, for her, the one that she chose, it felt like it had realness to it. That's something that, I know there was just, the other 4 were really good, but there was one particular song that really stood out emotionally, and also just to capture the scene really well, and so that second one who ended up choosing that second song was from a human director. So at the end of the day, it was sort of half-half. So it is going to make things a lot easier in the industry. I understand that, but in terms of composing and replacing producers, as I said before, I was like, man, we can beat this thing, man. We can properly beat this thing, because I just felt like that genuine feel and genuine emotion that comes out from me. Like I'm so passionate about what I do, and to this day I'm still passionate when I'm composing stuff. And I guess that's the reason why I've gotten so many results in syncs. It's because that same songs keep getting synced over and over again, because it works in different scenes, different projects, sports, drama, even horror. These songs work on different, on all sorts of platforms, because I feel like these songs were made by love, with love. So look, it is going to be there, but I'm still strong about, if we can focus on our craft as humans, this is a real passion for us, for you guys it is, and it's always been for us and for me. But if you can instill that in your writing, making sure that you write amazing songs, and not just settling with, okay, oh, that's a cool line, let's just sit with that, let's go to the next line. Man, how else can you write that line? How else can you deliver that emotion?
I would say stay live and stay off the grid.
Yeah.
So if you're playing to SMPTE on a computer, you don't realize that everybody's SMPTE is the same SMPTE. It's do, do, do. And you're playing to that SMPTE. You could speed that up and slow it down. It's still the same notes going the speed of weight. But a human goes on and off, high and low, and it brings feeling. We left that as soulful people. We left it. And by leaving it, we're becoming easier to duplicate. It's easier to know the chords when you just programmed it. But if you're playing and you feel it differently, you pull back or you come up, and you're guiding this roller coaster of a song, and it helps. And we forgot that art, or we're running from that art because things are easy. But get to your craft, like you just said, get to your art, get to your craft. Practice with others.
Collaboration has always been key. As I mentioned earlier, I've been in a lot of songwriting camps where I would grow. Even though I'm cool, I've been in the industry quite a long time now, I'm still learning from others who are less experienced than me. And that's something that you can bring to your next session. And I'm like, oh yeah, I learned from this person, and then use that craft to really just hone in on your talent. Because I believe we can beat this thing. If you hone in on that talent that you have inside of you, that God has given us, we've all been given this God-given talent. to make an impact on the world. I believe that. I'm just so proud that I'm honored to be here to express the genuine vibes that I get from making music, the genuine feeling, that love. And if you can focus on that first and foremost before anything else, before trying to impress anybody else, impress yourself first. Make sure you love what you do, okay? And that will come out. That will naturally come out through song. And if you give me a song to listen to and you're pitching songs to me, I'm like, if you make me if you make me give a stank face, like, woo! AI ain't gonna do that shit. That's not gonna do that for me. Now, if you give me a stank face, that's what essentially I look for, and you know. But yeah, nice. Work on your craft, man. Because seriously, I really believe in y'all. I'm very impressed of the talent that I've been fortunate enough to work with through this Project Spotlight and meeting everybody here. And
yes, I'll make that plug one time. In case you all did not know, the Project Spotlight 3 albums that we have, which you can find on all platforms, by the way, was actually produced by Jhay C himself. So I saw somebody in front of Janelle who was trying to have their hand up to say, oh, you have the mic.
Sorry, let me just add one more thing on the AI. Sorry,
Solomon, okay.
Sorry, take us back.
Go ahead.
I think, the fight between man versus machine, I agree, 100%. That's one aspect to it. The creators will win, right? Yeah. Yes. But beyond the fight, beyond the sort of conflict, there's also a way to use it to your advantage. And I think the question that was asked, part of the question was really, is there investment? Are there tools? Embrace it. I think AI can help to streamline the process of production. It can help, you can now use it to pinpoint what works, what doesn't work. I mean, the capabilities are amazing. But I do know, and for right reason, a lot of creators, like for example, the guy who's a copywriter, that's his job, making money from writing copy, right, is worried about ChatGPT because why do I need to pay you? So there's that worry, but how do you use this to your advantage is please everybody, don't sleep on it, get ahead of it.
So I will tell you how I use it to my advantage. You see that agenda that I tell you all to watch online? ChatGPT wrote all the descriptions for the agenda. Every single topic that we have here today, ChatGPT wrote it, except for the festivals panel and DK's panel for tomorrow. Yes. So Ruel has the mic.
Hi, good day, panel. Good day, everyone. My question is, I just need some advice from you guys.
Well, all this your free advice. You need to.
Yeah, man. This dude was.
I remember. I walk into a clubhouse room once, probably a room similar to this, and a big room filled with persons connecting, trying to grow, network, grow, make connections, person wanting to change or to grow in their craft. Where I am, actually, right? I'm at the stage where I'm myself wanting to make such a shift. Of course, though, when it comes to the time where you introduce yourself and what you've done, because everybody in the room has to do this at some point in this clubhouse room, with a humble mindset, I get overlooked at to the point of the room, because by the time I get to the resume, they're thinking, okay, this guy's done what most of the persons in the room want to do. What approach do I need to take next? When all I want to do is just to walk into a place with the talent that I have. Yes, the resume is there, but I really want to make a shift. I've been doing things one way for quite a while, and I don't think that, although it might be considered great to some, I think I'm at the bottom of the tier and wanting to make a change. What advice do you give to somebody who's wanting to make that jump?
So before they jump in there, I'm going to be the person to sort of plug Ruel here. Ruel is, calmly understating himself as his question is. He is the top music producer for the gospel arena here. Gospel is also the second largest music sector after soca. So, yeah.
We met
pub deal? Yeah. Publishing deal? Do you have a publishing deal?
There we go.
Making some shifts in that regard as well.
Cut the check.
We'll cut you.
I was like, talk to me.
Yeah.
Talk to me nice.
That's talk.
Yeah, We'll be in there 5:30.
Yeah, that's a start right there.
But that's it, though. That answers. I
That's
mean,
it.
the question.
I think it's about, you know what, being clear about what you want to do next, right? And like when you meet people, being clear about, you know, I've done this, but for me, this is my next step. Like for me, I got to a stage where we're doing lots of great things in the UK. It was amazing. I wanted to do more. So like, you know, in the UK, within like British culture, I'm like super well known, but I was like, I'm bored of doing the same thing again and again. So then I caught the plane to LA in hopes of getting a team. It didn't happen when I was there. I left. I made enough relationships to get a team out there. So I came back. I got a manager, I got an agent. Again, nothing was happening there, so I got rid of the agent, got a new agent. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's like, because I know for me, the next phase for me in order to get to where I need to get to is to make either a US film or film that has studio backing so it can go international. Otherwise, I'm just gonna carry on making my same UK films and just be bored. Like, you know, and also I'm enjoying success, so I'm making money, I'm doing stuff that people will be like, oh my gosh, you're amazing, like you're doing incredible things. But for me, I wanted more, so I got bored. And when I was talking to people in LA, I was very clear about what I wanted my next phase to be. And so I suppose that's what it is. And so if you tell people, like, you know, what you want to do and what the next vision is, then maybe you meet people that can help you.
Yeah, just be confident. Like, I'm sure you're so humble. I love that because I'm still like that. Like, I'm still very, you know, I'm sort of shy, like slowly, lightly talk, lightly spoken. But I feel like you told me you work with Daryl. Is that right? Yeah, with Daryl Gervais, and I know already that if you work with him, you're going to be quality. So I'm keen to hear some of your stuff, bro. So yeah, don't be shy to move around and talk to us because, man, we need y'all as well.
Yeah. There could be scenes that they have in upcoming movies, or you should get with them and play stuff.
For sure.
You know?
And at some point when you get to a certain level, this is off topic a little bit, but it sort of relating to your question. It might be time to also, you know, get some cool partnerships and look at it that way, like merge M&A for a business. At some point you grow to a certain extent, you want to expand, you know, get some new partnerships that can, you know, also help to grow that, you know, to elevate you to that next level as well, without selling your rights. Something.
Right.
You know, find new people to work with, collaborate with, collaborations.
Yeah. So we have time for 3 more questions. All right.
Ooh.
Okay. Oh God, everybody raising their hand now.
Yeah. So hi guys again. My question is really for you all. What struggles did you all go through for coming from Nigeria, UK, Australia, the US? I feel like I need to be inspired from this amazing partner here.
Wow.
What struggles you all went through in terms of getting fight down, you know, paving your own way? What was your experience?
That's another panel. Struggles. We can talk about that. Where do we start?
We all went through it.
It wasn't all good.
Yeah, man. It wasn't. There were years of
Years, man.
yeah, hard work, man. I don't think any of us here can sit here and say it's been rosy. Do you know what I mean? But you just have to ensure that you have, you know, the strength to keep going. Of course, I've had years when things weren't happening. You know what I mean? And then I've had years when it's like a purple patch and everything comes together. But one thing that's key for me is I know what the pathway is, I know what the end goal is, and I work backwards. So in terms of I can go through being broke in New York, living on $1 a day. Do you know what I mean? I've been there, man. But those kind of stories, like, it's not so important to me to woe is me. No, I made a choice to move to New York. Do you know what I mean? Like, so what's the point of me saying, oh, I got to New York and realized it's not like they say. It was the middle of winter. It was free. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think the key is you just always got to know what the end goal is, right? And don't lose sight of that. Like, you know what I mean?
All right. Who has the next question? Nigel Campbell? Yes.
Hi, testing, right. It's a heavy question. Yesterday, we did a thing on festivals, and MusicTT actually, Mariella had positioned this idea that, You can't hear me? All right, you can hear the voice out of my mouth. That we treat festivals as media events, right? We've had some case studies here in Trinidad where we tried to broadcast Carnival via BET some years ago, but a music entrepreneur who lives in Barbados had owned basically all the music, and he basically came to negotiate, and it didn't happen. I'm just wondering, in terms of our music industry here, where festivals are a major aspect of our music industry, what do we do? How hard is it? What are the negotiating steps to make so that we could broadcast Carnival as a couple 2-hour packages or even a music festival on channels wide and far?
Do you want to take that?
Yeah. Y'all don't realize how powerful Carnival is around the world. From the costumes we was talking about, to the sound, the happiness, the exuberant, just the essence of the whole thing. And it's not branded. Well, it is branded, that's what I'm learning, that it is copywritten, but you're not making your own songs for it. So you can't broadcast something of others. Go ahead. Yeah.
The songs were composed by our soca artists and our calypsonians. However, at that time, this entrepreneur, I don't want to call his name.
Correct.
He basically bought the publishing from these artists for a little bit of money. Right. But he was now in a position to basically tell Trinidadians, oh, by the way, I know all this music.
That's right.
And it's not going to be on BT unless you pay me X amount of dollars. That is what happened.
That's a big problem.
That's a big problem.
It's a huge problem. I'm gonna say there's another way. Martin Luther King's speeches aren't used in any movies anymore because of the same thing. You can't use them because they're signed to a publishing company and they license them for such a high amount of money that no one wants to use it. So during that time when we needed a speaker, you didn't hear anything because of the same issue. You need to not have that happen again. First of all, because you had it. You know what I'm saying? This would have been broadcast, and for whatever happened, you sold the rights to your music, and there goes the dream to tie it all in.
Yeah, I mean, look, generally as well, everything is negotiable. I don't know who this individual is, but the truth is you have the content. And with everything that goes on, all the various aspects of the carnival, you need to maximize what you can do with that content. Eventually, because I can think of so many deals that you could get out of the carnival itself. I mean, not just the broadcast, behind the scenes content, motion pictures, just whatever you can do to exploit it. And I think when you have good deals in place, you can bring this person to the table and you can work something out. If that content is so critical, right? Because if the money is big enough, he's not sitting on the music rights for no reason. So most times it's about finding how to make the pie big enough. I'm not saying pander to this person, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, there are multiple ways to skin the cat. Just,
Yeah. How did y'all handle it?
I'm very curious as well.
So, that's sounding like a three-part question,
No, we're here to learn too. This is very interesting.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
There was fighting and there was threats of a lawsuit and that kind of stuff, right? I'm not sure that BET was able to broadcast those songs. There were other songs that he didn't know, but they were not the popular songs. Right. But we've always had a problem in terms of the idea of during the pandemic, we wanted to have broadcasting of virtual carnivals and that kind of stuff. And there's always been a problem with state-owned media, whether or not we see the value in synchronizing soca music to these videos of people playing mass. And I could only talk about carnival, but I don't know what the deal is in some music festival, any music festival. But I think that in our festival industry is where a lot of music can be made by, a lot of money can be made by artists in terms of performance or whatever. But if those other elements in terms of mechanical sync and all that kind of stuff aren't happening because of, so if you say the negotiation has happened,
we need to get it back.
We need to get start negotiating.
Yeah. Where's he
100%.
based? If he's in Barbados, go call him. We'll negotiate for you.
Everything is negotiable. You're going to have to figure it
No,
out.
I mean everybody has a price, right? And no entrepreneur, businessman wants to hold rights without exploiting them.
So
So
right
The
now,
value of Carnival, we can't even quantify.
He's been sitting on this for many years, and the exploitation is very low.
right? So
He owns it.
at some point, he's gonna have to think. He's not gonna live forever.
He's
no more,
ready for a deal.
Right?
So-
He's ready for a deal.
So here's what production one needs to have a B2B session in the networking segment with them, okay? We have time for one more question. Yes, William.
All right, afternoon, everyone. Most of the discussion so far has been artist-centric, right? There are some of us in here who fall under, say, composer/producer, right? So we are not artists. We're not looking to put music out on radio, anything like that. We are more so focused on getting our music directly to film, directly to sync. Yes, sometimes we may put our music on Spotify, but we don't really care for the plays on that. Just, okay, we have some music there. So my main question is, what would you all suggest be the better pipeline for us to go down? Coming from Trinidad, where the music we may be making would not be relevant to most Trinidadian ears. So, yeah.
So before you actually start answering that, I'm going to tackle on something. In the steel pan world, arranging as opposed to the composing is also a very big area and revenue generating for them. So if you could just, add that in your context. Well, you know what I mean. Yes, it's composing, but you're rearranging somebody else's tune, right? So.
But I understand the reason why you say that. Yeah.
Go on, Jay.
Wait,
No,
yeah.
I think, we need producers, we need composers, and a lot of the syncs actually just use instrumentals. We don't have, in our catalog, we don't have any sort of music that's coming from this area or even Africa or anywhere that's sort of with this similar vibe. So if you have something that you feel like could, well, first thing I want to say is actually, don't be afraid to release stuff on Spotify, because it gives me opportunities for people like myself to just sift through Spotify, see what's going on around the world. You never know, I might be able to hear your stuff. And it's no good just sitting in this hard drive, man. Like, you get some dope stuff in your hard drive that you know what, I'll keep it for later. I'll do it later. You have to do something with that product that you're working on, And I really feel that if you can do the hard work first yourself, don't expect everyone to come to you. Like, you cannot do that. You have to put that grind in yourself, bro. And if you can put that essence that, you know what, I'm gonna work on so many songs, build a catalog of tracks and music, and get heard by, and keep pitching it out to not just sync companies, but also to labels, managers, A&Rs. And that is the first thing I would look for in any creator, is that don't ever be scared. Don't ever hold yourself back because you feel like you're not ready. Because I might go listen to your stuff, and I'm like, bro, this is dope, man. Like, a few little tweaks here and there, but it's something that, given the experience, if I help you out, and I'm so open to helping other producers because I know I've been through it all. If I can explain to you what we're looking for from an industry point of view, and you can sort of take that on board with your next project, so even add to what you've already got, then start with that, and then feel free to pitch to people like us. You know what I mean? Because that's, like I said, we need y'all. We need the food to feed the beast. Yeah. If we don't have that, then if you don't, we're nothing. So we need y'all to keep just delivering. It's all about quality. It's all about quantity. But for me, it's always about quality as well. So if I can help you with my experience to help in terms of molding and sculpting the track so that it's like sync ready or just release ready, then I'm so keen for that, because, man, like I don't hear enough. I mean, I get a lot of submissions from producers around the world, And I get some really cool emails, some really professional emails to say, hey, hi, Hit Music Lab. I'm a composer from Georgia, Atlanta. I heard you guys you're quite new, but you've done so much already in the industry. Would it be okay for me to send you a link to some of my songs? And that's a nice professional way of saying it, rather than, hey, here's a link, listen to my songs. If you're doing it like with no solicitation, like no one's soliciting you, then focus on professional emails like that, because I'm more inclined to go, oh, okay, cool, he's a producer, he's done this, he's done that. Now I'll take a listen, rather than just hitting me with all these like, yeah, listen to this, listen to that. But also just, in a nutshell, just release stuff. Just get it out there and don't be afraid, man. Like out of the 10 emails you send to people, probably 9 of them won't respond. But that one person who responds could be the one that changes your life, really, to be honest. And you don't really know. So that's all I'm saying, man. Just keep on pushing, plugging along, and feel free, man. Like, give me a DM. Give me your Insta and you DM me your emails and all that. That's why we're here. So yeah, man.
Just to add to that, right? Talking about myself. So when I receive unsolicited emails, right? When I'm traveling, it's actually when I just sit waiting for a flight or anything like that. I'm going through those kind of emails. When I'm in the office or anything like during the day. So I'm saying that to say, don't ever think nobody's gonna read your emails. Mm-hmm. Because downtime sometimes just happens to have my phone and I come across this thing and then I start to dig deep, right? And we do that for when people hit me up for representation on the acting side, or when producers are trying to get films made or things like that, or get my attention. Of course, when you hit me with an essay, in an email.
Sorry. I know we have to wrap up, but quickly, I want to speak to that, because there's been loads of people like in the UK. So I'm like this person that some people have grown up watching, and some people have watched my films. And there's been loads of people that have hit me up and I've not got back to. And then one day they've become famous. And then they come up to me and they're really annoyed that I didn't get back to them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait. And I never say this. I apologize, man. I'm really sorry. I'm like, it's happened to me so many times. Like, it's actually ridiculous. Like the amount of people that you'd argue now in the UK are bigger than me. They were like, yeah, I remember that time I sent you an email. There was a guy who was really angry with me for years. And then I was going through my email one day randomly. I searched something and his name came up. I was like, I don't even remember this email. I clicked it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy was trying to get at me 4 or 5 years ago. But the point is, the fact that people don't get back to you, it's not malice. Because this is speaking from someone that has not replied to those emails, right? It's not malice. They don't hate you. They're not trying to hold you back. It's just like your pathway wasn't meant to be through them. And you can still, and the reason I said a lot of these people have made it still, regardless of me not helping them, is that, they've knocked on other doors and other people have opened that door. And do not take it to heart. Nothing is ever personal. So if this person doesn't get back, they didn't get back for whatever reason. Move on to the next person, and there's different pathways into the game.
You followed up. You do a follow-up email.
Some people have followed up with me though. I've been back.
Don't send
I know it goes to my junk mail a lot of times for some reason. So I occasionally check my junk mail just in case. And every now and then I get a submission that, I totally missed this guy. Okay. Oh, well, he's actually quite good. So don't lose hope on the first go. I mean, keep going, keep trying, because we are busy. And like I said, we can't get to it straight away, but we'll get to it as soon as we can. And if we miss it, then try again. So.
And just lastly, I don't know, for producers, the fact that you're a producer, composer behind the scene, it's so good to build your brand. So I think Jay C made a good point about putting stuff on Spotify. Look at yourself as, still as a brand, whether it's your brand name or your producer name or whatever. You are an artist as well. I mean, you're not performing, but you're playing in the background. So there are many ways. I mean, I've seen it with TikTok nowadays, you see the dentist. I mean, who had dentists promoting themselves on? I mean, it's just wrong.
Oh, yes.
The dancing dentist. So exactly that guy. Everybody can do it, right? Doesn't matter what profession. So the guys in the background find creative ways to get out. Because when you send an email that, look, I have 100,000 people on Instagram, it helps to sort of, okay, this is interesting.
I mean, there's a guy in one of my documentaries, his name's M1 on the Beat, right? He's a UK producer, he's made songs for Drake, like everyone, right? and Busta Rhymes, name them. So this kid, I'm doing a documentary about Black British music. And literally, I contacted only the new producers that had their tag on their songs. So like the only reason me and this M1 on the Beat guy talk is because he had his songs say M1 on the Beat, M1 on the Beat.
That's right.
And literally, when I wanted to talk to producers about, like the music, the Black British music, all I remembered was M1 on the Beat, M1 on the Beat. And so then I hit him up, and then we've developed a relation, and I featured him in the documentary just because of that. And then I featured his music in the documentary, which got him syncs again, and I had to pay to feature the music in the documentary just because of that. So, your brand too.
Marketing. It works. I signed Mike Will, made it because of that. I signed DA, got that dope because of that.
I know all their tags. DA got that dope. Mike Will made it.
Think of your own tag, your signature.
All the Afrobeat guys do it.
Yeah.
All the Afrobeat producers.
Oh.
Yeah, sure. She was just asking if I should buy everybody a drink, and I said no.
Oh, come on, Phil.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I do have one other question. That is what I was asking permission for just now. We have about 5 minutes either way left with this panel. So do we have steel pan players, composers, whoever in the room? Just raise your hands. Okay, so one of the conversations I would have had with Fela since he arrived, and we also mentioned it on radio, and I had a conversation with Pantrinbago's secretary that was here for the opening yesterday, is that for some reason, the steel pan community doesn't seem to feel like conferences like this is for them because they don't necessarily understand all the different streams that they can tap into as musicians. So, quick tidbits of advice just for that community.
Well, Dude played yesterday, and that blew me away. I thought that was amazing. Tomorrow we're going to the factory, right?
Yes.
Right, so... we're also learning, but you are very important musicians as well. You're musicians, so it's quite key to not feel ostracized just because your music, I guess, is traditional, right? And it's like the talking drummer in Afrobeats. The talking drum is now so important that I see these guys on stage dancing and with the talking drum and how important they are. So I think you have to feel like conferences like this, it's about bridging the gap, right? Bringing you closer to the music community, bringing you closer to, people like Al, Jay, Solomon, Femi. We don't have all the answers, right? We are not sitting here saying that we can put you on tomorrow and you start challenging Drake. What we're saying is we've got some knowledge to share. So come to these things, understand what you need to do, brand yourself. It's the same thing, right? So that's what I'll say to the community. And you're an extremely important part of the music journey in Trinidad. We were talking about it yesterday, about going to see the factory and that music, what can we do to put it back on the map? And Al, myself, and Saul were like saying, it's gonna come full circle. You gotta be ready, when it does. So I think it's quite an important part of
I
the
think
whole journey.
also, go ahead. I think also when you're doing co-writing or you're featuring, it's two different things. Because I think you should be featured more on your record, so the artist gives you time to shine. And maybe then branding artist X featuring, you know what I'm saying? You start to get into that mode. So you become an entity and an artist yourself. And that brand may become a bigger thing. And I also think we talked about this the other day. You know, a lot of people know artists. Know calypso and soca in America and everywhere else. But the branding of it all, which we were saying, isn't there.
Yeah.
So we had to focus on that and supporting the artists and cultivating the artists like Nicki Minaj that says she's Trini all day. You know, why, isn't that a presence? Right, everybody's face. But this girl is your representative right now on the pop market.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right. Rihanna did the same thing, right? Rihanna is now an ambassador. Until you cultivate your own and hone someone that's really waving the flag, you sending a mix. You should be making her do soca records all day. You should just bring her here and just make real records.
We're still fans.
No?
All right.
That's another panel.
It's another panel.
I see my chairman grabbed the mic.
No, I didn't.
You didn't grab the mic, you sure?
No. About the issue about the steel pan, I think we have to see the steel pan similar to how we see all the other stuff that's happening. We are fortunate in this country to have both copyright and neighboring rights. And what happens is that the steel pan fraternity, as a matter of fact, I know of one publisher who for years actually used to go to Pan Trinbago, pay them, and take all the recordings. And he's actually now the owner of those recordings. So if you want to have a song, all right, of, let us say, whoever from 1970, he has the rights to those recordings, even though the writers may have been merchant, it may be rather, whatever. So the same rules apply even when copyright is being paid. The steel bands who make original music, you probably remember those young boys, Nigel, remind me, the guys with that band, what was it called? Panas, yeah, that's it. And some of these bands that even Samaru, that had some of their own compositions, they do the same things we do, those who are singing, those who are doing instrumental. It's the same principle. If somebody wants to use that music, the same thing these guys have been saying all the last 2 days still applies. So I think that would be one way to deal with the arrangements. The choirs that do arrangements do the same, those who record them and they have them played, right? The composer gets the music, but the neighboring right goes to the performers, whether it be the steel band or the other. I just wanted to kind of throw that in.
No, that's good. Okay. My question back to educate me is, are these original musics?
No.
Or are they covers of songs?
Right, they're covers for the panorama, they're covers.
Okay.
Usually of somebody else.
But you're doing the live new rendition.
But there are other people who do original music too, like Bootsy Sharp and so on. Yeah.
Now, are y'all, as a group, work for hire, or are y'all composers?
You mean for the pan side?
Work for hire, a composer will compose the new song and get new splits and new license. Or you are hired by a producer and they go, play for me, here's a check, work for hire, you did nothing, we thank you. Thank you for your talent for the night, and that's it.
Right, but that music that is played in the venue, somebody has to pay copyright for that music being played there.
Facts.
So it may be a standard blanket license by the venue.
For the original.
No, every time.
And the people that's doing it that night.
No, so I just want to say, every time music plays in this country now, we used to only have one payment, which was copyright. we now have two payments.
Performance
So if
right.
you get a bill, the bill always has copyright on top, neighboring rights below.
For the performance.
Got it, for
Right,
performance.
yeah.
Got you.
So the money on top goes to the, who, and the money below goes to the. But your point must be repeated about the metadata
Yes.
for all of these songs.
That goes.
But there are a lot of songs, there isn't enough information on the performers, the musicians, all
Correct.
that stuff on it.
But the metadata works only if the document is right. Whether they work for hire, they get no credit unless it's that way.
Yeah.
So you got to get the metadata right. The splits, the who performed what, or was it a work for hire and you played this instrument? I don't know if that helped.
And
Or
if
was
you'd
it-
like to know more about the metadata side of things at RVRB X1 on our YouTube page, we have metadata specialist Keith Kirk that covers it extensively. So just making that plug there.